When he was with us, he was Chuck. We didn't know him as Charlie. He was Chuck Manson.
And your telephone number will be recorded and monitored.
What? Oh yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
Huh.
I remember there was a little girl there riding bicycles. She's about 16 years old. She was all distraught because I got married to somebody else.
Really?
Yeah, she said she loved me. She'd all wait there for me. Of course, that's about 80 years ago.
That was, man, that was long. It was probably in the 50s or something?
Oh, well, I can see 1964.
Yeah.
So that would be, wow. Be a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. You look young there.
This call and your telephone number will be recorded and monitored.
Hello and welcome back to the back porch. First off, thank you very much for all the comments in the last video. So many of them it's hard to keep up with. But if you ever have any questions about any of the videos, go check out the comments because there are some really smart people that know what they're talking about. I got one of the comments actually made me laugh out loud for real. It was a comment by a person who says that the picture by Zizzo has already been confirmed by the commune to be Michael Bruner. First off, I never said it was confirmed that it was Zizzo in the first place. I just said people posted it in a paper and said that that was him. I said it looks like Michael Bruner. At the very beginning of the video, I said that, you know, they got Manson's mom confused in another video with his grandmother, so it happens all the time. But that just made me laugh when they said it's been confirmed by the commune. It's like, who the hell's in charge of the commune these days? I never have ever claimed that I know everything. I don't know everything. I got everything, but I don't know everything. So I'll share it with you, and if you know something different, please put it in the comments. Charles Manson was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Cincinnati, they did a story on Charlie, and Charlie's a legend there. But remember now, when Charlie was in Cincinnati, Ohio, he was born there. He might have lived there for maybe 6 months. This is what they know about Charlie.
Tonight on your side, an extraordinary interview with one of the nation's most notorious killers, Charles Manson. His followers killed 9 people in 1969. The most famous victim, of course, actress Sharon Tate. Manson spent many of his early years right here in Cincy.
When I stand on the mountain and I say, do it, it gets done. If it don't get done, then I'll move on it.
Charles Manson, in his own words, ABC's 2020 with never-before-seen video of the serial killer and orchestrator of 9 murders in California in 1969.
This crime made national headlines.
Al Shuttlecotti once spoke about Manson's ties to the Queen City.
Was born at Cincinnati General Hospital on November the 12th, 1934, the illegitimate son of a Cincinnati prostitute.
There are many stories, some considered to be more myth or urban legend regarding Manson and his dealings in Cincinnati. For example, one story regards Charles Manson drinking too much tequila at the City View Tavern on Oregon Street in Mount Adams. It claims that he threatened to jump off the tavern's balcony. Other stories suggest he did jump. Either way, one-time tavern owners were quoted in this 2013 Cincinnati Magazine article as saying the story was true, and the tavern stopped serving tequila after that day. His path growing up took him next door to Kentucky and West Virginia. His ultimate path to California, the murders, and his serving of 9 life sentences at Corcoran State Prison.
I don't think they just flat out lied about it at that bar. Always there's some in legends, there's always some truth involved. So, if we want to peel back a little bit and find out maybe where that truth comes from, Charlie Manson Jr. also lived in Ohio. He could have very well traveled to that bar in Cincinnati, Ohio, made the claim that I am Charlie Manson, and then threatened to jump off the balcony. That could have been where that came from, because it came too late, well after Manson was arrested. But again, Manson's a legend there. He's a legend everywhere. He's also a legend in Kentucky. And we'll go back to his house there in this one.
Charles Manson has ties to Kentucky and even spent some time living in the bluegrass.
LEX 18's Lee Searcy is in Manson's mother's hometown with more.
Charles Manson spent his early childhood living in this home in downtown Ashland on Hilton Avenue. He lived here with his grandmother. Though Manson was born in a hospital across the river in Ohio, he spent the early part of his childhood here in Ashland. His mother, Kathleen Maddox, had him at age 16, then a few years later married William Manson, hence the name change. He never knew his biological dad, a local custodian. At age 5, his mom went to prison for robbery along with his uncle. While the Manson connection here is intriguing to some, those related to his real dad didn't want the local paper writing about it. We caught up with Jim Powers, who works in genealogy at the local library.
The Daily Independent was thinking about a series of articles, expose, and members of the family that were here then, I don't know where they are now, went to the Independent and say, no, you're not going to write these articles.
So Charlie Manson went from being born in Ohio, going to Kentucky to live with his grandmother for maybe another 6 months to a year, and then going to McMechen. Somebody else in the comments said, I think it must have been a hillbilly that told me this, because they said it's pronounced McMechen. He's a legend there too.
Welcome back, everyone, to 7 News at 6. We have an exclusive 7 News special report tonight. His name has become synonymous with insanity, violence, and evil. Charles Manson has none of the folk hero charm of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or Bonnie and Clyde. He's a living symbol of the dark side. Yet, before he was a serial killer, he was a little boy growing up in McMechen, right down the road. 7 News reporter DK Wright has been researching this and now has a special report, Charles Manson, an Ohio Valley villain.
Charles Manson is 77 years old, serving a life sentence in a California prison. But this fanatical cult leader and mass murderer was once a little boy growing up in McMechen. At age 5, he came to this house to live with an aunt and uncle when his mother went to prison.
When he was with us, he was Chuck. We didn't know him as Charlie. He was Chuck Manson. There was nothing that I saw in him that was any different from the other boys, other than it seemed as though she took good care of him. He played with us. He got dirty just like we did.
They say he went to church a lot, had strange reddish-brown eyes, and ran faster than anybody else. He would show up and play with the other kids on the street.
We would just play outdoor games like normal kids did back then. We spent a lot of time outdoors, and we would play hide and seek, or I think there was a game called Run Sheepy Run. And
they say he was clean-cut, good-looking, almost pretty, and he was quiet.
Very quiet young boy. He was a nice-looking young fella. He really was just like the rest of us at that time.
While his schoolmates were shocked at the way this quiet little boy turned out, mental health professionals are not.
I think he probably was a very quiet child. Maybe he learned not to speak up, at that young age, for a number of reasons.
The other children had no idea of his horrific family life.
His mother was only 16 years old when she had given birth to Charles Manson, and from the information that we have at hand, we know that she was an alcoholic and that she had a difficult life herself. Shortly after that, she tried to sell her son to a waitress in a place for a pitcher of beer. And it took an uncle several days to then come and find Charlie and to bring him back home.
Despite a high IQ of 121, in Center McMechen School, he was a mediocre student, quiet and unnoticed. He eventually was passed from one relative to another. He started stealing, got in trouble with the law, and ended up in reformatories and jails.
And now he becomes extremely violent himself. There is one account of him taking a razor blade to another boy's throat while he's sodomizing him in that facility.
More crimes and jail terms followed. In August 1969, the news came out about the Sharon Tate and LaBianca murders and the Manson family cult. In McMechen, Dorothy Bartlett read the paper that day, but didn't make the connection.
Laid the paper down, didn't think a thing about it until my mother called me and said, "Did you see what your buddy got himself into?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Didn't you read the headlines in tonight's paper?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Chuck Manson."
So all these things that we see about Charles Manson over the years, take them all with just a grain of salt. Because a lot of it's just rumor. A lot of it's just legend. And there is some truth involved in some of it. But even Manson said from the very beginning, I don't think he even knows who his dad is, his real blood dad. He says it's Colonel Scott, but I don't know if he ever knew, because his mom, all she ever did was lie to him about everything.
The only thing my mother taught me was that everything she said was a lie. And I learned never to believe anyone about anything.
So again, if you know anything about any kind of truth and you want to get involved in the conversation, put it in the comments. If you watch a video and you really don't agree with me, check the comments out, because there's a lot of people that don't agree with me. And that's fine, because again, none of us know everything about this. If we did, I wouldn't make videos anymore. So, until next time, we come down in my garage, which I like to call my back porch. We make videos, standing here talking to ourselves, which I call the back porch tapes. If you like this kind of stuff and you like looking at these kind of things and you like trying to get to some sort of truth through entertainment, check me out again. Subscribe, like, and until next time, peace.